Welcome to the No Script Show, the only podcast where 60% of the time you love it every time.
60% of the time you love it every time. Yeah, I actually thought we'd mention the show's sponsor, Lowry's Salt, due to the amount of salt a single fucking tweet I made generated on Twitter this week.
Let's start off with that one, Odin. I think that's the perfect story to get into it because I only recently saw that tweet myself. So I think you're the best guy to give us the entire elevator pitch or the story behind the tweet.
Okay, well, I guess the easiest way to describe this would be balling, but at what cost? Well, the cost is salt, as in supremely high blood pressure. So I made this really innocuous tweet where I had the audacity to make the assertion that people's pets are not their children, they're pets, which isn't to say that, and I'll actually, let me pull up the actual tweet. Let me pull up the actual tweet so that we can actually get to the text of it, because apparently people can't take a half joke. Okay, so basically all I tweeted was you're not a cat or dog parent. I don't know who needs to hear this, but you're not a cat or dog parent. You're a pet owner. That's it. And the amount of salt this generated was incredible. This doing numbers, fam. Let's see. We're at current, there are 35 retweets, 14 quote tweets, and 309 likes. And I God knows how many replies, but it ain't ratio. And I see you turbo tweeted it as well. So.
Yeah, I wanted to give it a boost when I saw it. I'm like, yeah, sure, let's see how far it'll go.
And I guess basically, like, my whole point with that was that there's this sort of how do I put this? Uptick in sort of what I call peak millennial zoomerism, where basically your pet is your child, and there's you see it on people's Instagram profiles and their dating profiles and whatever. It's like your cat, like cat mom or dog mom, or my cat parent needs. My cat's child needs a father figure in his life, and. Okay, so and the intention behind that was that I just wanted to make the assertion. I honestly think it's peak zoomerism. I think that you can love your pet deeply, but it's not your child.
I think it started before the Zoomer generation. I think it started with even early millennials.
Yeah, actually, you're right. You're right. It started with millennials, and it's sort of okay. What bothers me about it, right, is that honestly, I consider it a cop-out, because I think that it is not precisely the same thing. They're somewhat comparable in taking care of lives, but is not precisely the same thing to take care of a pet versus to raise a child, a whole human being, and
a sentient human being. Yeah,
and dolphins are sentient too, and all sorts of stuff. I saw that in the chat, like people like, oh, these things are recognized. By the way, I did quote tweet my own tweet and say, damn fam, this doing numbers, gonna have to discuss it on the show. Shout out to Punished Doodoo Man, who apparently threatened to fuck out both of my eyeballs. Listen, Punished Doodoo Man, FSU beat Miami last night. Believe me, I'm in so much pain.
Oh shit, dude! Wait! Before you get into that, there's something you're going to have to explain to me. Now, I'm completely out of the loop with this, but on your timeline, there seems to have been like a hurricane of drama surrounding some type of sports match in America, and you were freaking out about it. Other people were freaking out about it. I don't know what's going on. Was it like the comeback of the century? Was it a
Oh,
underdog beating one of the big guys? What happened?
okay. So we'll put a pin in the dog's parent saga for a
Oh,
second.
you can come. You can finish that thought first. Just when you mentioned now football, I realized there's that I need you to explain this to me, and what better place than on this podcast anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, my thing is your pet is not your child. It's not
Mm,
precisely the same thing. From a purely sort of what I would call secular standpoint, I don't agree that it's your child. There are different implications, like somebody on the stream pointed on the thread pointed out, saying my son died last week is not the same as saying my cat or dog died last week. There are different implications to that. Um,
all right.
and there's just different implications, and the cats and dogs are not going to discover the laws of thermodynamics, which in turn allow us to live the life that we live. Like no cat or dog is going to derive Maxwell's equations in terms of mathematics and physics. They're just not as capable. They don't have the potential that all of us have. That's my secularist argument, that it's not the same thing. I will admit, as a religious person, I have a religious reason why I don't consider them our children, because I believe that every person has, as a religious Christian, every person has a human soul, which is just
Mm,
in, incalculably valuable and
mm,
inherently makes you better. Uh, and that's why I presented the secular one first, because I understand that not everybody prescribes to my beliefs. Um,
mm,
that being said, even on in a religious context, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't take care of cats and dogs very well. In
mm,
fact, quite clearly in Genesis, we were made the wards of the earth and all the creatures on
mm,
it, and there is a duty incumbent upon us to discharge that, to take care of them very well. But honestly, if I would say it's sort of a cop out way, and my honest opinion is, if you really want to take a life, take a life from start to end. Sack up, get married, have kids, or if you can't have kids, some people can't have kids or won't have kids. There are still plenty of orphaned children or children in your neighborhood or community
mm,
who, I said the two things that make you a parent is either actually biologically producing a child or mentoring/adopting a
mm,
child.
mm.
Just as good. You're just a parent in the
Right.
same
But
stream.
I've maintained for a long while that well, since this I've been debating these types of topics, that I do think there's something special about humans, and I'm going to put my Christian worldview aside, just looking at it from a purely just secular point of view. There does seem to be, from my perspective, something about humanity that we can't really see in animals. It might be my own pro-human bias. I mean, if there's ever an alien war waging in our solar system, you can bet your ass I'm going to be pro-human. I'm going to be a human supremacist. I'm going to choose my own species side, dude.
It's
Um,
okay, bro.
uh,
I'm already a Zona supremacist, so
yeah, dude. So when it comes to this type of thing and these types of questions, I do think there's something about humanity that's special. There's something that we see a lot of similarities within animals, but not the same. No animal really contemplates its own being or contemplates its place in the universe. There's no animal that really thinks about how can I be a better version of myself. There's no animal that really thinks like what's this all about and tries to really change his environment according to that. Animals are driven by their instincts and they're driven by their drive to survive. I mean, a cat will eat your corpse a few days after you've died. We've seen that.
right, right, and beyond that, it's just, yeah, like you said, there is that special thing, and beyond that, it's just, I feel like people who do the whole cat mom, dog mom, dad thing are just like, they not willing to take that last step. They're doing everything that involves, a lot of things that involve having a child, but the fact that they often say things like it's like having a kid, except I only have a trial run of X amount of years. That to me tells me that on some level they understand that it's not quite the same. It's not quite the
Mm.
same, and uh, I would be very interested to see how many people, because I basically divided it into X amount of people. There were the people who agreed, there were the people who disagreed, but got that it was sort of a tongue-in-cheek joke slash jab. There were the people who disagreed, but disagreed very politely. All three of those people I'm totally fine with. Like the people that agree, the people that got the meme slash joke tongue in cheek thing, and the people that politely disagreed. In fact, there are some very wholesome interactions on on um, on the thread at some point if you dig deep enough. And then the only group that I kind of had a problem with were people who just didn't get it and like were so vehement and just like violent about it. I was just like, damn, son, like that level of salt is gonna kill you. I mean, again, this will get into the basketball in a minute. Like I consumed immense amounts of alcohol last night, and even I think that level of salt is unhealthy for you. But yeah, I just think it's an unhealthy level of salt, and I thank all the people who had fun on the thread anyway. I think
Oh, so wait, just finish that thought.
yeah, I was just going to say I thank all the people, but I really question how many of the people who really disagreed, what proportion of the people who really disagreed that and said no, they're definitely my kids. What proportion of those people have actually had kids? I think it's a
Mm,
very small proportion. I'm willing to
mm,
wager.
right. Yeah, well, dude, that just shows how much I'm out of the loop, seeing as it was a basketball match and not a football match that caused all of this drama. You're going to have to really give me the lowdown on what happened there because it seemed like a big deal.
Okay, now we're going to get into the basketball,
From
right?
we're going from salt to salt.
Oh yeah, this is a different kind of salt. So okay, at this moment, Florida State University is on top of the ACC rankings in basketball, which is the Atlantic Coast Conference rankings in basketball. Now, it's been a above average tier basketball team for years now. There have been peaks, but for the most part, it's been an averagely good, above average sort of basketball team. And this year, the beloved coach really put his back into this team and really recruited some guys and just really knuckled down. And initially, it was a typical Florida State basketball sort of season. There were a couple of heartbreaking losses, but then we just got on this grind somehow. Something changed about the mentality of the players. You could see it whether you were watching it in the Tuck. That's the name for the court. It's Donald Tucker Civic Center. But if you were watching it in the Tuck or if you were watching it on TV, you could see something has clearly changed about the mentality of these players, their relationship with each other, their relationship with the coach. Something's locked in or clicked here. So we got on this winning streak. And the first big one is that we beat Miami, the University of Miami down in South Florida by 1 point. And people are like, that's wild. Beat them once at home. Then Duke University, which is honestly by many people's serious basketball rankings, even though technically they're not the best anymore. Most people, there are still a large chunk of people out there that consider them to be the greatest basketball school in the United States. So when they come to your home, you're not playing to beat them. You're playing to lose to them by a small
You're
margin.
playing to survive.
You're playing to survive. That's not what happened. That is not what happened. So, out of nowhere, where it comes down again to another closing. Florida State beats him by 1 point because of a single overtime basket, and the defense just locks in. That overtime basket is sunk, and then the defense locks in so that Duke can't take over. It's like they're it's like the coach had drilled them. They're synchronized. They're like of a certain mind together, and it's amazing. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. So Florida State beat Duke, and now
So
last night,
what you're pretty much saying is that they're operating like a swarm AI.
pretty much, pretty much. And then to top it all off, last night Florida State goes down to South Florida, to Miami, to play against Miami at home and beats them again by 1 point in the last second. I'm like, holy crap. Right now, it's the highest ranked basketball team in the ACC. This is the most ballistic thing that has happened in the last easily 8 years in terms of American sports. People I follow a lot of American sports Twitter. People are losing their damn minds. It's unbelievable. They're just like they refuse to believe what the objective reality staring them in the face is.
So where were you watching this match from?
From my place. Yeah.
Oh, so it was actually on television. University football, university basketball.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So did you did you actually disturb your neighbors with all your shouting and partying and the noise making after you won the match?
I mean, Tallahassee's a college town, so everybody was up watching the match. So, so then, like the match goes down, and it's 2 for 1 margaritas at the bar that I live next to, across the street from. And it's 2 for 1 margaritas, and people are losing their damn minds. There are just shots everywhere. It is like,
so you went to the bar afterwards.
Yeah, it was like we were celebrating the victory in World War II or something against, like, we're Russians and we just beat the Nazis, and it was ballistic. People were borderline animal. You know, like
Yeah.
We've seen videos of this debauchery. That's what I got to experience for like a night last night. It was ridiculous. It was so insane.
Well, I'm glad you survived.
Yeah, I actually had to crawl out of bed this morning. I'm actually enjoying a nice hangover whiskey, because if I stop now, I'm genuinely afraid that the cumulative hangover will kill me. Won't stop. I can't stop. I'm afraid for my life.
Shit, dude. Well, yeah. Well, I'm glad you had an amazing time, and I think it does, from how you describe it, sound like a once in a lifetime sporting event.
We will never again witness a Florida State team this good. Never.
So, what does the future hold for this team now?
Well, that's the thing, right? Now's the really, really, really crazy part now, because we're getting into what we call March Madness, which is the highest national basketball tournament in the land. And Florida State usually makes it to the round that they call the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8. But normally when we make it to the Sweet 16 or Elite 8, we get in there while being ranked number 8 in the conference. It's been ages since we got into Sweet 16 or Elite 8 while being ranked number 1, and people are already predicting, this is going to be a dub for Florida State. We're going to be national champions. The funny thing is, just last year, the Florida State women's soccer team won the national championship again. So there is a possibility that in a single year, and assuming our football team gets back on its winning tip, that Florida State could win the women's soccer championship, national championship, March Madness, and be national football champions, which would be absolutely insane.
Well, that sounds like winning the treble in English football.
Yeah, pretty much. And the irony of beating Miami is that they're this elite school. Like, the tuition at the University of Miami is easily triple whatever tuition is paid at most other schools in Florida. So they have ridiculous amounts of money. Like when they go and have a nice, how like back home in undergrad we had a nice braai and a nice gear and we just chill and whatever around the braai. Their definition of that the kids that go there is going onto their yachts, quite literally, and grilling meat, or having a hibachi chef come in and do that flippy shrimp flippy thing. Yeah, that's their definition of just chilling at the Bri.
Wow.
Just to put in perspective how incredibly wealthy that school is. Yet despite
Mm.
that, they don't actually have their own football stadium, and they're actually a very small school, very small, very metropolitan looking, crappy campus. It's ironic that with all that money, they couldn't buy, I don't know, couldn't buy just some style or something. It's ridiculous.
Mm. Well, dude, I'm very glad for your for your team. You're gonna have to keep us up to date on your Twitter feed on this journey that's ahead.
Oh, I will. Like I literally so there's this kid now. He's called Kason for Knowles. He was at the original U Miami game, and people are now saying that he's our good luck charm because the camera caught him doing the upside down U for U Miami, and we won. And he's been at every game we won. And now there's like the semi campaign to grant him a full ride scholarship to FSU just for being a good luck charm. And honestly,
Well,
I think he should. I think the kid deserves a full ride scholarship.
well, yeah, man. It's if he plays that big cultural role within the institution, I mean, why not?
There are people online now who are calling him the king of Florida sports, and he's like he's like he's like 7 years old, and they're crowning him the king of Florida sports.
Maybe he did pull the knife from the Gator's head.
Honestly, at this point, I believe it. I really do.
Or maybe he will in the future, and then he becomes the king of Florida.
The ironic part is that the owner of Barstool Sports, Dave Portnoy, I'm sure you've probably heard of him.
Mm-hmm.
He's a huge Miami fan, and he hates Florida State. Ironically, his current girlfriend is actually from Florida State. She goes to Florida State. He tweeted, "I can't wait to see this kid cry." Like, he quote tweeted that Kason for Knowles kid, and he tweeted that before the match, like a couple of hours before the match, only to have Miami blown out. And now Barstool, he owns Barstool Sports, but the Tallahassee branch of Barstool Sports sort of quote tweeted his tweet and just like sort of photoshopped the kid beating him to the ground. It's unbelievable. Like, memory in the, yeah.
Right. Shit, dude. That it seems like a blast, man. It's really it really sounds like something that is a once in a lifetime thing, and just judging by your Twitter feed, it seems like it did have its impact on you.
Bruh, there are still people out like drinking right now. It's unbelievable. Like the debauchery, the absolute change in morale on the ground. This kid is getting retweeted by the official University Garnet and Gold cheering team. It's like you said before in the past, though. You know, there's always those people who like sports ball. Oh, it's so dumb. Blah 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 blah. Guys, the absolute change in morale of the entire town due to this current streak is it'd be hard to overstate how much of a change in morale this has provided for people in the town and their lives. Like, so yeah, you can call it sports ball all you want. This simple event has given so much morale to so many people, to this entire community,
and it has real world effects outside of sports.
Exactly. The real world effect is these people are just, like, people are happy in the town. You can I'm gonna walk out now after the show. I'm gonna go to I'll probably go to Chipotle and get a burrito, but you know, because you know Florida, lots of Mexican food, but the fact
I've never had Chipotle.
Yeah, I think we should have like a sponsored no script you trip to the US after I come back home.
And you just take me to all the cultural institutions of Florida.
Yeah, of the state of Florida. keeping in mind that most people in Florida consider themselves Floridians first and Americans second.
Mm. As it should be, man. I think every state should have their state identity as their first one instead of their national identity. I think that's much better.
Yeah, I mean, there is a reason why. Like, let me put it to you this way: in certain more sort of pro federal government states, like in the north, and I'm a little tired of the blue state red state dichotomy, but this is a genuine instance where you can do a blue state red state dichotomy. In pro federal government blue states, um, people will just fly an American flag occasionally. In sort of in sort of pro states, sort of red states, people will fly the American flag, but they will fly their state flag with the American flag, and
Right.
often on top of the American flag, because they want to make it very clear that they are Floridians first, Americans second, Texans first, Americans second.
Hmm. Yeah, dude. What are your thoughts on just this amount of migration within the United States from blue states to red states? I mean, I don't think this is just a bunch of based people coming to red states. I think it's many blue people coming to red states, and they're going to keep voting the way they do, and that's going to have a detrimental impact on the policies of those states. That's my more morbid or pessimistic view on it, but I think that's what's happening.
So here's my thing. I think you're right. I mean, look, there's probably a percentage. What we need to consider is what percentage are like based people moving here, what percentage are moderates or blue people who are open to interpretation. I'm going to use Joe Rogan as an example. Is that he's
Right.
like Joe Rogan's probably voted Democrat most of his life, and now that he's moved, I think he probably pulls the lever for Republicans, or at least some kind of moderate independents, like the LP Mises Caucus, not the main LP because they're a fucking garbage fire, but the LP Mises Caucus, something like that. I doubt someone like Rogan still pulls the lever for the Dems. So the first two categories, that is the base people and the moderate slash willing to change people, are not an issue. Like you say, there is a large percentage of people who keep voting the way they vote. And I tend to agree with you. However, I will add an asterisk of hope, which is the fact that Glenn Youngkin just won the state of Virginia and flipped Virginia red is such a monumentally bad omen for the Dems
For the
that,
midterms that are coming up this year.
like, Dem strategists are scrambling. They are losing their minds. They're scrambling. It's hard to explain how bad of an issue this is. So the thing about it is, he won on the very thing that people keep dunking on, which is oh, the culture war is so bad. You shouldn't fight the culture war. Well, as it turns out, guys, Youngkin won because he picked the right culture war topics, and that's it. Like things like what you choose. Yes, kids do belong to their parents. Yes, parents can tell what their kids may learn in school. Yes, it's bad to have unisex bathrooms in schools and stuff. Where you have gender fluid kids like in bathrooms with girls. Like it is an issue. It's that simple.
Well, then the thing is, when the midterms are in November, right?
The midterms are in November, correct?
Right. So that's going to be interesting. I think it's going to give us a very good barometer of where the United States are currently standing. Yeah.
The number of Dem strategists that have just like been like, deuces, I'm out, because they know what's coming down the barrel. Like it's horrifying.
Right. Yeah, dude. Well, I'm looking forward to it to see what's happening there. But I have scaled back my monitoring of US politics a little bit. So I'm focusing much more on South Africa nowadays. Well, actually, for a while now.
You're right. I mean, obviously, I have it's easier for me to focus on South African, sorry, on American politics because I live here, semi live here now, but yeah, local politics are definitely. I mean, I still think there's a case to be made that it's worth at least keeping half an eye open on American
Mm,
politics because we still live in a
absolutely.
world where if America sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. Um, but yeah, local politics you should focus on. Speaking of which, bring me up to speed on those.
Well, when it comes to South Africa's local politics, the big thing that's on the I don't know what to call it, the discussion table, you can say, is definitely what's going on within the ANC. President Ramaphosa is just pretty much demonstrating himself to be the weak president that we've been saying he is for years. His own party members call him a liar in their media press statements, and pretty much just attack the constitution from all angles, and then he does nothing. But then one MP alleges that he has corrupt dealings or that he was corrupt, and that MP is fired on the spot or suspended
Wow.
rather.
Wow.
But Sisulu can literally call the president a liar, and he does nothing.
Wow. So speaking of Lindiwe Sisulu, who's like I don't know, who's like the Mike Tyson of being politically irrelevant, as I said on the Man Patriot show, who I still have beef with, by the way. We'll get into that in
What?
a minute. The Man Patriot show, that podcast beef that I admit that I initiated. You know,
Mm.
I can be impulsive at times.
With your wars, the
I can,
declarations of war.
I I can't help it. I'm just as a basic sorority girl would say. I can't help it. I'm an Aries. Um, I hate that shit. It's so annoying.
uh,
It's I was just like I see posts about it. I was like, this is the most annoying thing in the world. It's like I can't help it. I'm a Virgo. I'm like I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn, Rachel. Maybe try be a better person. But
yeah.
yeah. So Cyril is the epitome of what I don't understand, and maybe you can answer this for me, is that I'm trying to figure out how sort of new dawners are still drinking.
Coping.
Yeah, how are they still coping?
They're coping with the same cope we saw from many Republicans just a year or what ago, and that's the whole 4D chess thing. They really think that Cyril Ramaphosa is playing like some strategic long game, and he has this massive 4D chess plan, and we just have to give him more time and trust the plan. They're pretty much the Q equivalent of South African liberals and South African leftists, many of them.
Okay,
They just think there's some grand plan, and we just need to trust the plan. And so Ramaphosa is like our anointed leader that's going to lead us into victory or whatever. But yeah, it's getting very embarrassing. They're getting awfully quiet now.
I question. I question why people would want to live like that. In that there is this grand plan, you have no control over it. Just there's this grand plan. I like. Wouldn't you rather live in a world where your own choices and efforts have results for you?
Hmm. Well, there is another thing now that you mention it. I tweeted something to the effect of two things can be true at the same time. The media and politicians use the term conspiracy theorist like it's going out of stock. But at the same time, there's also a crowd of people that believe the most absurd and or claim to believe the most absurd conspiracy theories just to get open mindedness and non conformity clout. And just because we live in a time of like universal deceit doesn't mean it's now virtuous or desirable to go down like a conspiracy theory absurdity spiral.
Right. And this is a good time to bring in, I guess, what we'd call like our mutual sort of view on, or our mutual view on testing the validity
Right.
of a conspiracy theory, which is basically two really simple questions. It's who gains what? That is the first question. And the second question is how many people are involved or required
You
to.
know, how many people have to be involved to make it a success and to keep it a secret?
Case in point, let's take the flat Earth conspiracy. Never mind the fact that even flat Earthers themselves admit that every other body in the solar system is round, but except for apparently the Earth, which on its
uh,
face
you're just a bit behind the curve, Odin. It's rhombus Earth now. That's the thing that's in.
is rhombus Earth. Okay, cool. Rhombus Earth. Um, okay, so it's rhombus Earth, but spherical Mars, Venus, all that. Cool. Okay,
Right.
that seems ridiculous on its face, but beyond that, it's sort of this thing of um, so with the flat earthers, it's like, okay, who gains what? Who gains what from us believing that the earth is round when if it were in fact flat? Who gains what? Like it doesn't seem like any sort of great gain. If
No, not
tomorrow
really.
it turned out that the earth was indeed flat, I would still live my life as I am currently living my life. So yeah, what, this grand conspiracy to convince me of something that has zero effect on my life, of the shape of the earth? Like, okay. um and second, as you said how many people have to be silent or complicit in this? It's an incredible amount of people.
Right. Every pilot in the world, every person that sailed from one continent to another, every like scientist when it comes to just the physics involved with a flat or a spherical Earth. It would pretty much be anyone that's ever traveled farther than the circumference of the or anyone that's traveled farther than where the border should be of a flat Earth.
Right.
And also all the people that have sat in the airplane that flew and you could see like the Arctic.
It's just uh, yeah, and that's why it falls flat on its face for me. On So I guess a believable conspiracy theory. Let's see. A believable conspiracy theory would be that, or one that would more likely pass those tests, would be that I remember there was this one that apparently Nelson Mandela, not that he died or that he was cloned, but that he actually died or would have died several months prior to when he officially died, but they were just keeping him alive. And then eventually things got too hot in the media and they pulled the plug so that attention could be diverted to that. That would be a more believable theory for me in terms of questions, because one, who gains what? Well, the political elite gain the ability for coverage for all their other stuff. And the second question is, who would have to be complicit? A handful of medical experts.
Hmm. Right. Yeah, no, that's a pretty good demonstration of it. But yeah, for me in the end, the bottom line is I see a lot of people now jumping on the meme of like it's actually virtuous to be a conspiracy theorist or to believe in just any type of conspiracy just by virtue of it being a conspiracy. And I think that's dangerous as well because there's some batshit crazy stuff theories out there that really are dangerous to believe that's how the world works. And secondly, a lot of those theories completely overestimate the power of our opponents. They pretty much put you into a paralysis where your opponents are so powerful they can pretty much just do anything. So it doesn't help if you do anything. You can just be blackballed and sit back and not do anything because they're all powerful.
Yeah. And and the problem with that is, one of the other problems is that, yeah, like you said, it creates this Well, I think it was you who most recently retweeted something to the effect of my favorite one was if the situation were truly hopeless, the propaganda would be unnecessary.
Right. Yeah, no, that's the type of attitude I want people to take to heart in 2022. I think things aren't hopeless. Black pills are pathetic. Don't take them. Don't sell them. Don't try to distribute them. It's like that old story of the frog that jumps down the well to the bottom to see what's there, and then he gets to the dark bottom, and then there's nothing. And now he's just in a pit of despair, and all the other frogs go and sit on the edge of the pit of the well, and they shout down and they ask, "How? What's going on down there? Is anything? Is it worth it?" And he's like, "Yeah, guys, come down. The water's fine. It's magnificent down here." And he just because misery likes company, and he just convinces all his frogs to jump down to be trapped down there with him.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate explanation of how it goes.
But listen here, Odin, I got to run. So if you would please close out the show for us in style, that would be great.
Yeah. How to close out the show in style? Geez, way to put me on the spot. I would say that the FSU is the greatest sports school in Florida, and Florida is the greatest state in the union. I would say look to your own communities of people, because it's going to be a rough ride, especially with all this Ukrainian border shenanigans. It's going to be a rough ride, kids. So focus on your own little community, and yeah, go Knowles.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Cheers.